Working on a 2007 Jeep Commander. What we're looking at here is the light on the dash. So there was a throttle control warning light, lightning bolt in the dash, and that indicates a fault in the electronic throttle control system. Also, we have an engine code that came up, a P0507 and a P0507P, and that is idle control system has an excessively high RPM. And the P means pending, and that means that it's basically intermittent or about to happen or reoccurring. Now on this vehicle here with an older throttle body, what we have is we've got our throttle here, and then this would be our throttle position sensor on this side, all right? So when the throttle is engaged, this is gonna read the position of the throttle. In the back, this is the idle control sensor. So this is controlling the idle of the vehicle. Now that code would have said that it was the idle was too high. So ordinarily what we would do is we would target this sensor and we would just simply remove it, clean it, put it back in, and see if that fixes a problem, because it does get all sooty and dirty inside. So sometimes you can just clean it and put it back in. And if not, then we would just simply replace the sensor entirely. Problem is with this vehicle, this is the style of the throttle body we have here. So there are no sensors on this thing. It is all basically computer controlled. If you were to open this up, you would have your computer controller in here. It gets plugged into here, basically kind of like a computer board here, and then here is your motor. And you'll have gears in there, and that's what's going to open and close your throttle. So this is the style here. There are no sensors on this throttle body to fix that condition. I guess looking at it plainly and simply, you would just think, okay, well, maybe we just need a new throttle body. Maybe there's a problem in here with the control. What we did was we did buy a new throttle body for this vehicle, and we put it in there, and we still got the code came up again. But the vehicle still drives and runs. It shows you minimal problems, right? It'll have a little bit of a stumble here or there, nothing really serious. Until the wife went and took it on the highway to go visit some family, and then all of a sudden we had that lightning bolt icon come on, which again highlights, a problem with your throttle control. We're going to remove the hose. There should be a 5/16 just for that gear clamp there. Take that off, and then this should come right off of there. There should be like some rubber plugs in the bottom that kind of fasten it down. So we've got an air sensor on this side where we just got to disconnect the electrical on there. You can see there's where the sensor is. On top, we've got another gear clamp. There's the top of it right there. It's not the best spot. I got it with a flathead screwdriver because it's so close to the edge here. I couldn't really get a socket end on there. But you loosen that off, you unplug this, and you should be able to grab this thing and pull it straight towards you. If you wiggle it out of there, move it around, I had to kind of kick it over this way as I was pulling it towards me. But you have to disconnect it from these two pins here. Now with that out of the way, we can see where our new throttle body is that we changed out, and there's our plug. There's 4 bolts on there. Remove the old one, put this one on, and plug it in. But we still have an issue. It's still giving us that code. This is controlling the amount of air that goes into the engine. But behind the control mechanism right there, the throttle body's controlling the air that goes in. We've got a couple of hoses behind that are connected into that body. If air is getting in through these 2 hoses, it's getting in after the control. So theoretically, the control is monitoring the air that's coming in, it's controlling the air that's coming in, but behind the control, you've got extra air that's coming in. So no matter what the control does to try and fix that situation, it's not going to be able to because of this setup here. We've got this, which probably comes off of the exhaust, because that's a metal tube and that's a heat shielding in there. We've got this rubber hose, and if we follow that over, that's going to our brake booster, right? And we don't have any problems with our brakes, so it does give us an indication that this might be a problem. Even if it was, this is just a length of hose that you would replace. That's not a big deal. Then we've got this rubber port and connection here, and it comes down. And if we follow it down, it comes over to this thing. And here's another look at it from a different angle. And that piping in there comes in, and there's, if you take a look, there's a rubber 90 that goes into here. It takes your vapors from the gas tank or whatever, and then this pump will go, and then it'll send those vapors into there. So you could check this here, and you'll be checking for cracks, wear, leaks. As we look in here, the last one we see is this here, and it goes that way. And if we follow it down, see that rubber 90? That's where that's going to. And I do believe that is the PVC valve. So we're gonna follow this, and basically it goes underneath and to the other side. Now, as we look from the other side, we see a couple things, and sometimes when you're just looking things over, you get clues to where your problem's coming from. So, for example, somebody has put a zip tie on there. So, that's gotta be there for a reason. That might be part of our problem. But look at the back where it's connected into at the very back. You can see what looks like to be, it's oily and it's dirty. And that's an indication of a leak back there as well. So I think what we're dealing with here is extra air that's coming in past our control, and that's what's causing our problem. And I do believe that this is it right here. We pulled that hose out of there, and we take a good look and see what's going on here. So first off, this pinch clamp here on this side is not easy to get. There's no room in there to really get at this really well. Pretty much have to destroy rubber 90 here. And then once this hose is out of the way, then I could try and get some pliers in there to get that clamp off of there. And that gets connected to this monstrosity here, which is supposed to be the PVC valve. You can hear that inside there. Gonna need a big socket to get that on, 35 millimeter. So that was disconnecting there, and as we come down, remember we had this here and we had this zip tie on there. Well, I cut the zip tie off, and then I moved this down. This is just some foam that's around here to protect the hose from vibration. There's nothing underneath here. So that's good. That's not a problem that way. But as we went back, and this was that greasy 90 that was in the back there, you can see that it's cracked on that side. And if you manipulate that, you'll be able to open that up. Like, that's cracked pretty good. But this is the bad spot here. We clearly have a hole right in the 90. So this is drawing in that extra air, and this is what's causing that problem. Our second issue is now if we take a look at this hose and we take a look at the hose that I ordered for replacement, they are clearly not the same hose. Next thing we can do is we could just simply take off the rubber 90s off of this one and this one, put them back on this one because this hose here is still good. Replace it that way, and then we're going to replace our PVC valve. What I ended up doing in the end was I just grabbed a chunk of heater hose. So I changed out that PVC valve down there. I changed over to gear clamp because it's going to be easier to deal with and replace if I had to. Take that off and replace it. And then I just used a length of hose in here. It comes out the other side here, and then you can see the gear clamp again at the back. So originally this hose is shaped wrong. It's not going to fit in there. And so then I'm like, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just take the two ends off and I'll change them. This end here has this pull on there. So once you install that, you just pull this off, and then that activates that pinch clamp. Well, that gets it on, but getting it off isn't so fun. Then what I did was I took the 90 off of here and I put it on here, and here's the second problem. So these are two different kind of hoses here, and this isn't very tight. Like this connection here, when you slide that on there, that isn't very tight. There's a subtle difference here between the two. Wasn't happy with that fit. So what I did is I just went with some 5/8 heater hose here. And the 5/8 heater hose will fit over top of this. In fact, you really probably don't even need to have a clamp on this end, because this is kind of like serrated, and when that hose goes on there, it's on there pretty good. But I still got a clamp on there just in case. So we changed out the PVC valve. We just used a section of hose here. Fits on good there. It'll fit on loose where it goes into the intake manifold, but that's fine because we got a gear clamp to tighten it up. So the theory is we'd have two connections there, two connections there. I eliminate them down to one by using the hose. We just have the one connection point here and at the other end. If you can't get the proper hose to fit, like in my case here, well, this ends up being a cheaper alternative. So like for a couple dollars a heater hose, and 2 gear clamps, you fixed your problem. Try that first. It's obviously going to be cheaper than changing your throttle body like I did. And all we got to do is put our air box back in, our secondary air box, hook up our sensor there, and then our piping down to the air cleaner. That's it.